All right, folks, welcome back. We're going to be going over a very unique PD array in which its uniqueness comes from how private it is. You can only learn this through the private mentorship, in which, well, I won't say sadly, but thankfully you're learning it through me because I don't care where this knowledge goes. I'm just reteaching it. I don't want to keep things private. Of course, ICT might want to, but hey, it's knowledge. I'm going to push it out there because why not? The redelivered rebalance, it's in the name. The definition of it is basically we are redelivering a previous constant rebalance of price. That's that's literally what is happening when it's forming. Two versions of the redelivered rebalance exist, in which they form through wicks. If you have a bearish wick or a decently long bearish wick, such as this one here, or a discount wick, or basically the lower wick of a candle, that is a bearish redelivered rebalance. You will see what I mean in just a second. And if it's a bullish wick or a wick that is above the candle, or simply just a premium wick, that'll be a bullish redelivered rebalance. If there is an if, in which I'm going to show you that if right now. Let's look here. This is a bearish redelivered rebalance. We're going to jump into this real quick. Like you see this wick right here, right? Now this isn't just any ordinary wick. This wick is creating a low right there. See that? This wick is creating a low. Before we begin, the redelivered rebalance forms on all time frames and can be used on any asset that is controlled by the algorithm. Of course, that goes for all arrays. Now, since this wick or this decently long wick is creating a low, this could be a potential redelivered rebalance if, this is the if I was talking about, if price overlaps it decently quick. Not super quick as in like the next candle, but if it overlaps it within, I don't know, I'll give it like maybe 10 candles on that same time frame, then yeah, you could see a potential redelivered rebalance, or maybe 7 candles, something like that. But basically, you want to see it overlap that wick in close proximity to when it's actually created the low. Not just the wick itself, but when it actually creates that low, because a swing low contains 3 candles. Uh, one candle on the left side that's higher, one candle on the right side that's higher, and then you have one in the middle that's the deepest, which creates that swing low. So after it creates that swing low, I'll give it about 7 candles max. 7 candles max to fully overlap this gap. I mean, not gap, but this wick right here. Drop below it, if I can speak, overlapping it to potentially create a redelivered rebalance. Well, not even potentially. Whenever you see this happen, you got a wick that creates a low, and then you have price overlapping it pretty quickly or in close proximity to its creation. Then you have a redelivered rebalance, guaranteed, no doubt. Okay. Now, from the possession or the candle that possesses the wick, that long wick that creates the low, the candle before it, or on the left side of it, its low, since this is a bearish redelivered rebalance, that candle's low, that is before the actual candle that possesses that wick and creates that low, you want to find the low of the candle before that, which will be this candle right there. Okay. Now, for the second part of it, or the second part of the redelivered balances range, is you want to find the candle that fully, when I say fully, I mean that actually fully overlaps this entire wick here. All right. I don't mean go through it just a little bit. I mean the candle that finalizes the overlapping of this wick, in which this is that candle. That candle fully overlaps this wick here. So what you want to do is after that candle that fully overlaps it, you want to go to the candle on the right of it, or basically after it, the next candle after it, and get that candle's high, because this is a bearish, not, I was about to say immediate rebalance, but redelivered rebalance. So there's your range right there, which is about, what's that? 50 points is pretty decently large, but this is a very, 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 very algorithmic PD array. It's up there with the order block in the, what's the other one? There's a lot of other PD arrays. There's so many of them. There's like 10, 11 of them, but you get the point. This is a very, very algorithmic PD array in which quadrants can be applied to it if the range is large enough, in which 50 points is obviously large enough so we can apply quadrants to it, in which it didn't even hit any of those levels, in which we can eyeball it and see that it didn't do that. But we can see that in this candle, jumped up into it, respected it heavily, and then accumulated after hitting that level. So what do you think is going on here? What's happening right here? Obviously, the algorithm has referenced this point and is now accumulating around that level. Simple, right? So since it's accumulating and is referenced something, what do you think is going to happen next? Obviously expansion, in which it does expand lower. Now, The bullish redelivered rebalance is simply complete. It's just totally reversed. Obviously, right? It's obviously reversed. But let me explain the anatomy of what I mean when I said we are redelivering constant rebalance. Now look here. You see this? These three candles right here. From this wick, right? What is actually happening when we create this wick? What is the price movement? What's going on? We are dropping lower, then coming back up when we create that wick. So those are the first two moves. This next move, when it's overlapping it, this is the final third move. It's dropping back lower. So let me draw what's happening here. We are first dropping, then going back up to rebalance, then dropping again. So look here. Correlate this. Let me just grab it real quick. Hold on. If I can I grab it? Chart? No? Okay, I guess I don't want to grab it. But just look over here and you'll see what I'm talking about. So this is the wick right here. This is price creating the wick. It's dropping down, dropping down, dropping down, dropping down. Then it wants to come up and rebalance that delivery right here. That sell side delivery, it wants to rebalance that. So it's going to offer buy side delivery and create that wick by closing at that level. Now, since that wick has been created and we now have sell side that's been rebalanced, but we still have this buy side to rebalance, what price is going to do is run through that to rebalance it, or basically what's happening here, we're overlapping that wick, which on the lower time frame, we are rebalancing this buy side delivery. I mean, yeah, that's well, yeah. Is that what did I say that right? Yeah, we're rebalancing this buy side delivery, which creates a redelivered rebalance, in which the redelivered part is price reaching back up into that range and redelivering it, dropping lower. That's literally all that's happening. That's literally it. So let me find a bullish example if I can find one. One thing about the redelivered rebalance is that when it forms, price will tend to like rarely even reference it. You could have it there on the chart, but it's likely not even going to reference it because after it like rebalances and does all that rebalancing, what price will usually do is just keep expanding past it and will never come back up to it. It's it's a pretty rare phenomenon. I don't know why it does that, but that's what I've seen like back testing this hundreds and hundreds of times. All right, I think I found an example. Hold on. Yep, I did find an example. Now, this one is going to be a little bit more tricky, in which I do have a couple things to say. Price can move throughout the range. The redelivered rebalance range that you do identify, price can trade through that. Reason being, the possession of the candle, or if there's a swing created that goes deeper than the candle, which would be this swing here, that point would be your level of violation. So it can go through the redelivered rebalance. It's kind of like a fair value gap, but not a fair value gap because, it can go into a fair value gap, fill it, but still go through it after it's been filled. You get the point. It's kind of like a redelivered rebalance. I mean, kind of like a fair value gap, but applied to the redelivered rebalance. So this is a bullish redelivered rebalance in which we can clearly see we have this premium wick, very, very large premium wick right there. So obviously this is a bullish what? Redelivered rebalance. So since we have a what's the word? I was just about to say, since we have a swing, I mean not a swing, but a candle that's breaking the possession candle's low, because this is a bullish reminder, a bullish redelivered rebalance. Since it's doing that, it makes the violation point a bit deeper. Okay, so hold on, let me before we actually go over this example, let me go over a couple things for the bearish example so you can know exactly what I'm talking about. Hold on, where was that example at? Hold on, I had it somewhere. Where is it? Okay, it's right here. So if the possession candle does not have a what's the word? A candle that goes above its high, since this is a bearish redelivery rebalance, the possession candle's high would be your violation point. If it goes above that level or goes above the possession candle's high, in this case, that would be a point of where you would exit. That's when you would get out your trade. Overstood? Overstood. Okay, gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. So it's literally the same thing, but flipped around for a bullish redelivery rebalance. So if this was a bullish redelivery rebalance and the possession candle does not have a candle that breaks its low, simply the possession candle's low would be your violation point. Real simple. Nothing too hard. Understood? Okay, understood. Obviously, you're not going to be taking a 197 point stop. That's why you won't be using this on the hour. You'll be using it on the 1 minute, 15 second, and stuff like that. Okay. Now that we understand the stop loss part and the violation part, Now it's time to go back to that example, which is right here. Now this is what I was talking about. Hold on. Watch this. Watch this. This is what I was talking about. Since this is a bullish, I said bullish. I can barely speak, but since this is a bullish redelivered rebalance, if the possession candle is low, gets broken, the violation point just gets a bit deeper, in which the new violation point would be the new low that goes past the possession candle's low, which is this low right there. So that is your violation point right there, or your stop loss. You can make it red if you want to. Now, looking at the actual formation, this is the possession candle's wick. Price overlaps it. So the candle before the possession candle, you want to mark that candle's high, in which the candle that overlaps, what's the word? The candle that overlaps the giant wick that we're looking at, that's our actual wick, or the candle that forms the redelivered rebalance. The candle after the overlapping candle, you would mark the low of that candle, in which that is a candle that opens up after this candle fully overlaps this wick here. So if you want to make this a little short and sweet, the high of the candle before the possession candle that possesses that wick, that's simply the first part of the redelivered rebalance. You want to mark that candle's high, in which the candle after the overlapping candle, which is this one right here, you want to mark that candle's low, in which if you pull that out, there is your redelivered rebalance right there. Now, obviously, you can port this down to a lower time frame, like I said earlier, with any other array. Like, for example, you can draw the quadrants onto this redeliver rebalance and obviously drop to a lower time frame to see if price respects it, in which it kind of sort of does. But like I said, it can still move through it a little bit. It's a very, very weird PD array. I'm still trying to make sense of it, but from what I've gotten, and I've gotten enough knowledge and what's the word, structure and layering of this PD array to where I can effectively teach it to you without you going broke. So just from what I know so far, it's it still has a little bit of flaws, but of course I'm going to make a section 2 to this. But this is the redelivery rebalance, a very, very simple array. Very, very simple. Well, no, I'm not. Well, no, that's not true. This array is not that simple. I think we can both agree this is probably one of the most advanced arrays that I've showed you so far. But it's very, very good for second chance entries and stuff like that. So I think I taught you pretty well. I don't need to show too many examples. You can simply just port this over to your back testing, to your tape reading, and basically whatever you want to do and read price. Anyway, this is the end of, let's see if I can say it, redelivered rebalance. Okay, there we go. I got it out. And I'll see you in the next one. Good luck and good trading.